Hello and welcome to Doon Does DVD, and the first in a series I'm calling Marvel May. My plan this month is to go through all the films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, rewatch them, review them, and then give them a ranking. And so to start with, we go back to 2008 and the very first Iron Man, which is old enough that I still only have it on DVD. That was before I had made the jump to Blu-ray. Although I've got the Incredible Hulk on Blu-ray, so that must be around the time I was about to make the switch. But this is quite a nice edition where the slipcover is the Iron Man suit. It's interesting to look back at this now we know how well the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing, whereas when this came out, no one had a clue. Back then my knowledge of Marvel only really related to the cartoons from the 80s and 90s, and that was mostly the X-Men and Spider-Man. If you asked me at that point who Iron Man was, I wouldn't have had a clue. So thinking back, I can't remember what drove me to first watch this film. It must have had a good review or a recommendation or something, but I don't think I saw it at the cinema. Probably came to it a bit later, maybe when it was on Sky Movies. The people who've read the Iron Man comics often say that Robert Downey Jr. was made to play that part, but as someone whose first experience of Iron Man was the Iron Man film, then Robert Downey Jr. has always been Iron Man and there is no other. So even going back to the comics now, which I've done a few times for Iron Man, not very many, it still feels like it's Robert Downey Jr. in that role. That's who I'm imagining in the suit when it is actually Stark in there. What strikes me the most about going back and watching this now is how much technology has changed in the last 8 years. I tend to not notice when you've been living it. They're using old crappy flip phones and things like that, and Stark's hologram system is very small and not on screen for very often. But the film itself still holds up, of course. There's a reason that it became the foundation for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it worked and was well received. As superhero stories go, the origin story often follows very similar tropes, which is true here, but in this case they're all done really well. And it felt fresh because at the time there wasn't a lot of superhero stuff that wasn't Batman or Superman. It's funny and it's action-packed, but it has a heart, and it's basically everything you would want out of a film like this. What I wonder is how much the Marvel people, and Kevin Feige in particular, had planned at this point. Obviously now we know Marvel's plans stretching out to 2020, but I wonder how many of those plans they had 8 years ago when this came out. Obviously they were thinking about it enough to get Samuel Jackson to do a cameo at the end and suggest the Avengers, but I wonder if they actually knew they were going to get there at that point. I guess they probably hoped but weren't quite sure. And so it's time to come to rankings. So at the point where I've only watched one film, obviously Iron Man gets the #1 spot. We shall have to see how long it keeps it. Because I haven't really planned this through in advance, I'm not sure what the final ranking's actually going to be at this point. But we'll talk about that a bit more next time when I review The Incredible Hulk.